I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championship.
Something stupid is coming out of his mouth.
I don't know. Maybe it's just my age. He needs his vote pulled immediately. And of course, yes, a season like this has to have a name.
Let's talk about something good about Justin Freck. What are you doing?
Season of dreams. Ohio State, my guys, are either the best or the second best program in the history of college football.
This guy is a bonehead. They love him.
I question your judgment as an adult. I really do.
I was a total hater. I know that for a fact, and I just don't get it.
Get us back our sleeves.
And say, bring me that. That's the one I want. And welcome to Juck on College Football on a Thursday. Appreciate you all so much for joining me. 3 games, guys. 3 games left, and the college football season is over once again. It goes by so fast. The off season is so long and lonely, but I'll be here with you. Please do like and subscribe so you can see all my stuff. But James Franklin said Abdul Carter is a game-time decision. I'm going with my Penn State pick. I picked Penn State to come out of this bracket in the beginning, largely in part to their schedule. But obviously, Penn State needs Abdul Carter, and I think he's definitely going to play. Notre Dame's biggest offensive threat, Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard rushed for 800 yards. Jeremiah Love is dinged up. He's going to play. I just don't see Riley Leonard pulling this off. And the Notre Dame defense that people talked about how good it is all year, the offenses of note that they've played, Louisville, they gave up 24 points. USC, 35 points. 17 to Indiana, some of them in garbage time. But that depends a lot on what you think of Indiana. I personally never bought it. Other offenses they've faced, Texas A&M, Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami, Ohio, Stanford, Georgia Tech, 2 service academies, Florida State, Virginia, and Georgia. I'm not saying they're not good. That's a very good defense. It's a quality defense. But the competition they've played all year has just not been up to snuff. And giving up 35 to USC, the last game of the year, shutting down Indiana, it just doesn't impress me. On the flip side, the Penn State offense that we rag on quite a bit, in their last 3 games, a conference championship and 2 playoff games, has scored 37, 38, and 31. They're kind of quietly peaking like Ohio State. That last game we saw them play, a very poor offensive game plan. And if they had played it like they should have, they could have really taken it to Boise State even worse. I don't see them doing that again. So I got Penn State. I'm going to go 28-17 in that one, and we're going to watch it here live tonight. But what I wanted to talk about today was the press conference that James Franklin and Marcus Freeman had, because James Franklin stirred the pot a little bit. And one thing I will say about James Franklin is the dude is not afraid to speak his mind, and I respect that. Instead of the normal glad handing that usually happens at these things, James Franklin decided to use the press conference as a pulpit to speak on college football as a whole and what he would like to see changed about it. He stirred some things up. It was a little bit awkward, but he started off saying, it's great to be able to boy, I'm stepping on it today. It's great to be able to represent our schools and our conferences. Well, excuse me, our conference. Obviously, that was intentional. He went on to say this.
Obviously, you talk about just the differences between our 2 programs and conferences. I think it should be consistent across college football. I think, again, this is no knock at Coach or Notre Dame, but I think everybody should be in a conference. I think everybody should play a conference championship game, or no one should play a conference championship game. I think everybody should play the same number of conference games. I was a head coach in the SEC. I've been a head coach in the Big Ten. I was in the SEC when the whole conversation was whether to go to 8 or 9 conference games. We voted, all the coaches voted against going to 9 games. The commissioner agreed and kept it at 8. I think it was one of the better decisions as SEC made. The Big Ten went to 9 games. And, you know, I was not a math major at East Stroudsburg, but just the numbers are going to make things more challenging if you're playing one more conference game. So I just think things need to be consistent across college football.
You got a sport with 134 FBS teams, and it was never designed to play a nationwide competition for one champion. We've moved a long way in the last 25 years trying to make it more conducive to that, but it certainly has a long way to go. We've also sacrificed a lot to get to where we are. I certainly missed the Pac-12 this year, but as we move towards more of a national flavor and more of a focus on playing a tournament at the end of the year for one national championship with 68 Power 4 teams plus Notre Dame, which, again, that's an issue for a lot of people. Franklin's pretty much on point, and his view is that this is making it harder for the committee to decide, to compare this school in this conference playing 8 games to this school in this conference playing 9. This one with the conference championship, this one without it. How's the committee supposed to judge accurately when every conference is doing their own thing, or one team is not playing in a conference championship, the other one is? Should conference championships even be part of this system? There's a lot of things to work out for sure. And I get it. I get where he's coming from. But at the same time, we've made these changes like bigger conferences, and now we have a huge new problem of 2 teams in the same conference that have drastically different schedule difficulties. Some people have proposed playing 12 conference games, an entire conference slate. While I love the fact that that would give you 12 very competitive games with no cream puffs, there are drawbacks to that too. Smaller schools in state rely on bigger schools in their states to fund their program for the entire year. And you could say, I really don't care about that. If they can't sustain their own program on their own, then it's not a viable business. It's not a viable team. If you can't support it yourself, you're looking for a handout, and that's really not a model of sustainability. And I get it if that's your point of view. Mine's a little different. I love out-of-conference games early in the season. That's one of the best things of the college football season to me. And those big-time matchups, those first 3 weeks, I want to incentivize those as much as we can. If you got 12 conference games, those go away. Though I don't think I would mind 10, maybe with one warm-up cream puff to satisfy those in-state schools, those obligations. I mean, I think that's a really good thing to be able for a team like Ohio State to help out Bowling Green, then Akron, then Kent State, then Miami, Ohio. To be able to do that is a good thing for the state in general, for high school football players looking to continue their careers, and for those MAC schools. But whether everybody goes to 9 or everybody goes to 10, it doesn't really solve that we have drastically different schedules inside conferences, or that conferences aren't created equal. I'd like to see the SEC go to 9 conference games because I'd like to see one more week of SEC conference play. I'd like to see Notre Dame join a conference because I don't like that we have one single program that's an outlier in this entire system, and all the athletic directors meet with one vote. All the conference commissioners meet with one equal say, and then Notre Dame's athletic director meets with them, and they have one equal say just for themselves. But I do have to admit, there is part of me that likes the fact that the SEC says, we're not going to go to 9 games. We're going to play 8 games because that's what we want to do. This is our conference, and we're going to play what we want to play. And I like the fact that Notre Dame says, no, we don't want to join a conference because we don't want to. This isn't the NFL. This isn't professional football. These schools play games they want to play. They join conferences they want to join. Part of me likes that. Like, that is college football after all. The more it becomes like the NFL, the more we lose the wonderful arguments that we love to have. And boy, did I have some doozies today. The arguments are a feature. They're not the bug, whether you recognize it or not. I'm sure there's a lot of you that have been drawn to college football over your life because of the great arguments that we have, where we can both be right and argue it tooth and nail to the end. They're wonderful. They're part of the charm of the sport. They don't exist in the NFL where everything's perfect and drawn out and mapped out perfectly. They just aren't there. In the NFL, they argue about things like who's the MVP, and those arguments suck. I like arguments like when the loser of a conference championship now has a 17-game path to win the championship, should you also then punish them by allowing them to drop below a team that was idle? That's a good argument. You can make good arguments for both sides of that. There's no perfect answer to it, and there's no perfect path. We've got all sorts of different wonky things in this sport, and to me, it's part of the charm. But the most controversial thing from yesterday's show was the cap that I wore yesterday. The cap that my lovely wife Nina got me. It's from Ireland. It's an Irish weavers. The Irish weavers made it from Killarney, Ireland. And I thought that she got it for me because she really liked me. And it was also fitting because we were talking about the Fighting Irish. liked me in it. Not real. Of course, she likes me. It never dawned on me the reason that she loves me in it until my buddy Garrison tweeted this. Another question. Is Chuck the Joe Rogan of Buckeye Talk? The significance there is my wife has had a massive crush on Joe Rogan since the days of Newsroom. You guys remember that? The show with Phil Hartman? Yeah. And he wears a cap like that. So now I get it. And I won't be wearing that cap anymore. And that's what we got today. Please subscribe to the new channel. I'll be back at you tomorrow. Talk to you then. Chuck on College Football out.